Cashflow Diary Podcast, episode 443.
Welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Cashflow Diary Podcast, the podcast that teaches you insider tips, tactics, and strategies for creating leverage streams of cash flow into your life. Learn from top-performing entrepreneurs, business owners, investors, and thought leaders from across the globe as they share their secrets to success. Like what you learn on this and other Cashflow Diary podcast episodes? Go to learninvestingnow.com and sign up to receive powerful tips and information that will help you succeed as an entrepreneur and investor. Now, here's your host, investor, entrepreneur, business owner, educator, speaker, author, and master facilitator of Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow game, Jay Massey.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Cashflow Diary Podcast. I'm your host, Jay Massey, and I'm glad that you are here today because here's the thing. You may have been listening for hundreds of episodes now, right? I mean, we're in the 400s at this point. And what's interesting is that some of you may have been listening from the beginning. You've listened this entire time. Thank you. You've shared with friends. Thank you. But you still haven't started. Like, why? And I don't know that answer. So what we're going to do today is we're going to give you yet another perspective on how skills that you have today can be transformed into a completely different industry, be it real estate or be it something else that you want to use to build cash flow. Because what I've said before, and I say again, where you start isn't necessarily where you stay. And what's important is that once you get started, that you stay started. And I think today's guest has done exactly that. I have with me none other than Whitney Nicely. Now, already I'm happy because you can't have a name like Nicely and be mean. So this is going to be fun for all of us. So make sure that you are listening. But understand this, that she has went from zero, so dead start, to 19 houses, 19 apartment units, and as she describes it, 7 chunks of land. Now, I don't know how big a chunk of land is, but we're going to figure that one out in a matter of 36 months. Now, I find that interesting, but what I really think is strange, for at least for me, when I think about it, is that she's got a dog that weighs 130 pounds. That's going to be interesting to understand too, but she also is a wife, 2 kids, and did all of this. Guys, you got to understand, when it comes down to getting started, staying started, and growing, that's exactly what Whitney's about. In fact, she even calls herself the anti-realtor realtor, so we're going to learn something today. Let's talk to Whitney Nicely. Whitney, are you there?
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, I can't imagine anything else happening. Like I said, I mean, you can't have your name and not be fun. So we're going to dive right into it. Now, before we get started, and this being your first time here, I tend to ask everybody the first time that they're here the same first question. You ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. I tend to look at today's entrepreneurs a lot like yesterday's superheroes, you know, like Black Widow, Wonder Woman, the Hulk, etc. Because I think superheroes and entrepreneurs have a ton of things in common. Chief among them is that occasionally as an entrepreneur, I can envision myself, you know, flying around town, possibly wearing a cape and tights, saving my customers with our products and services. But just like a superhero, an entrepreneur has a beginning. So think about Spider-Man, for example. There was a time where he was just a kid going to school, trying to earn his good grades, and you know what? He said, I'm going to take some photos to get a little pizza money and maybe take a girl out every now and again. And then one day he gets bit by a spider. He discovers he's got this new ability and he has to choose to use it for good or evil. So with that being said, my question to you is as follows. Before your houses, before the apartments, before, you know, teaching and helping all the people, before all of your programs, before the things that you've done now and what people know you for today, what we want to know is, who is Whitney Nicely?
Whitney Nicely is a local small town girl who had a big dream to bust into the good old boys club and shake things up. And that's exactly what I've done. That's what I
Did you
wake
say
up.
good old boys club?
You know it's
Oh,
there.
this is going to be going. Keep going. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, that's exactly what I wanted. I grew up as a entrepreneur's kid. I'm fourth generation entrepreneur, and everybody that I could see around me was men, except my mom. My mom stood out like a sore Southern thumb in this sea of men, especially in real estate investing. And I thought, she's not doing as much as she could. And I bet I'm loud enough to get out there and really do something. And that's kind of my goal every single day.
To be loud enough?
Yep, I'm really mouthy. I love real estate, and I like to think outside the box and push the envelope, push the bounds of what people think women should be doing and what people think real estate investors should be doing.
Got it. So let's start this. Did you just? I mean, maybe in this you might be the exception. Most people that I meet don't wake up one day and go, you know what? I'm going to be a real estate investor today. And so I'm curious, what was your evolution? Or did you just wake up and go, well, real estate is for me?
No, I didn't wake up with it. I got smacked upside the head with it. My mom has always been a real estate investor, and she's always been a boring, old, slow investor where she'd save a bunch of money and then go buy something, and then eventually she'd get her money back. She had no plans, no strategies, no nothing.
I see.
And I was watching her make the deposits one day. She got all the rent in, and she was making the deposits. And I was like, wait a second, Mom, why don't I get any money in the mailbox every month? And she was like, well, duh, Whitney, you have to buy something first.
Right.
No sit down conversation about Robert Kiyosaki and the cash flow and, building up generation. None of that. She was just like, go figure it out.
What?
Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay. Yes. Thank you.
Wow.
I will go do that.
That's a great idea. I'll be right back.
Yeah. And that's pretty much what I did.
Okay. Got it. Interesting. So go figure it out. You would think I would have thought she might have said, okay, step one here, step two,
Nope.
do this. But
she had to figure it out, and she figured I was smart enough and I could figure it out too. And now I own more houses than she does.
Well, I was going to say she was actually right. It sounds like so that's good. So go ahead.
That's my mom's parenting style. That's how she always was. You want to sell Girl Scout cookies? Go knock on the neighbor's doors. You want to sell coupon books? Load up. I'll take you around to, all the grandparents and, whatever. And you can get out and go knock on the door and fill it all out and submit it and fulfill your orders.
Got it. Well, that actually speaks to something because there's a number of people who are listening who are, I'll say, waiting for opportunity to knock on their door. How necessary has it been for you to have something other than that waiting around in order to make any of the things that you've done happen?
Another thing that my mom taught me to do is not procrastinate. You get an idea, you think you're going to go do something, get started on it, get it figured out. Just like you said in the introduction, get started and keep going. Stay started. And that was pretty much my mom's motto too. And that's what she taught me to do. And so I don't have that curse of sitting around and thinking things through. I'm more of a figure it out as we're going kind of girl. And I get more done that way because I don't always pre-plan for the bad stuff to happen because I just solve whatever's coming at me at the moment instead of what might, could, and most time never happen.
I like that last part. Most time never happen.
Most of the time.
Most time never happen. Okay, so take me through this journey because I'm gathering from what you're saying there were Girl Scout cookies somewhere in there that you wanted to do. So how do we go from Girl Scout cookies to your first real estate transaction? I'm assuming there are other things that happened in along that journey.
There was lots of other things because, when I was a kid, Christmas would be coming up. My dad would go out and buy an old junker car, bring it home, change the oil, wash it, take pictures of it. And then at that time, he'd put it in the newspaper and he'd sell it and he'd make a couple extra $1,000. And that's how we get Christmas presents. Like I was raised by people who, if they needed more money or wanted more money or wanted to take a trip or wanted to, buy a four-wheeler or a golf cart or something, they would figure out a way to make a big lump. And so I was just raised with that mindset, like go out and do something. So in college, I started flipping furniture on Craigslist, or I'd go to auctions and buy couches and, whole estates, and I'd take them home and put them in my house and, kind of doll it up a little bit like it was my furniture. And then I'd sell it on Craigslist or Facebook. And then, so I was making a couple $100 extra bucks a week, or, sometimes I'd make $1,000 or, nothing huge. But I was at the trucking company, and I was working 4 different jobs at the trucking company. I was flipping furniture on the side. I was driving from Knoxville to Atlanta to see my boyfriend and go on travel ball games with his kids. And then I decided it'd be fun to also add in flipping dump trucks. So I would travel across the Southeast and pick up dump trucks, and I'd have to take 2 or 3 men with me to drive them home because I wasn't licensed. That didn't stop me. I could still go buy them. And I'd buy the trucks, take them home. The guys would clean them up, again, change the oil, and I'd flip them. I'd sell them to guys all across the country. They'd fly in from everywhere to buy my dump trucks because I had a really good product and a really good price. So that's how I learned. And then in 2009, in the middle of the recession, I was still living at home and working for mom at the truck company. It was just a lot of mom time, And she had a rental house, and I was like, it's close, but maybe I could move into it. Well, we, urged her tenants to leave, and they did. And we walked in, they'd been there for 12 years. I don't think they'd vacuumed or wiped down the countertops in the entire 12 years they were there. So we flipped it. And in that process, I fell in love, Jay. I absolutely fell in love with, ordering the people around, getting the materials, and seeing something ugly come to life and be pretty. And I fell in love with the house. I moved in. I lived there for 7 years. I'd bought 16 houses, and I was still living in my mom's rental house when I finally moved out last year.
I love it. Okay. All right. Now, you said a lot of things in there, and I'm sure many of us want to understand how you flip a dump truck. We'll get to that in a moment. But for the benefit of everybody, when she said that her father put something in the newspaper, that's what we used before there were blogs and websites. Because I know that might have thrown some of you like, what's that? Where's the secret newspaper? Now, okay. So what I'm sensing is a pattern. You buy things that are broken, you fix them and resell them. That is what I'm sensing from the path that you were telling me.
Absolutely.
But you started with furniture. Like,
yes.
Help me there, because I am the least handy person that you probably have ever talked to. So when it comes to flipping furniture, I'm trying to, I don't quite have a picture of how that works.
So we have estate sales. Sometimes they're called garage sales on the lower end. And people advertise those on Craigslist. They advertise them on Facebook. Also, auctioneers around me have awesome real auction estate sales. And I would go and buy a table for 10, 15, maybe $50, take it home, put it in my living room, and put an ad up on Craigslist that said, hey, I'm going to upgrade my coffee table. Who wants this one? And sell it for $150 or $200.
You didn't do anything to it?
No, I just wipe the dust off of it.
I love this.
And so when I flip houses now, I kind of do the same thing. I put a little lipstick on a pig. I don't really gut the kitchen or do anything amazing. But the pictures look really good afterwards.
It's something to be said for one's marketing skill. Exactly. Because that's what I was trying to understand. I'm like, a table's a table. How do you make it a table suddenly worth more?
I'll tell you. Yeah. And I do this with my houses too. It's a soft staging kit. It's girl stuff. You put little, doilies out, and you put I had no shot
right there. Right, as soon as you said it's girl stuff, I'm like, oh, well, no wonder.
I make it look like mine. And what do women want? Something another woman has.
Wow.
And so I make it look like mine. I put magazines out. I put little candles out. I doll it up a little bit.
That's okay. Got it. So. Now I have a question then. How do you doll up a dump truck? It's a dump truck.
Well, that one, you wash it, and while it's still wet, you take a picture of it while the sun's shining on it.
Okay.
Sometimes you can buff out the bumpers. Most of the time, just changing the lights or making sure the backup alarm works is enough for people to fly across the country and hand you $20,000 or $30,000, $50,000.
All right, dump trucks it is. So
Yep.
then with that kind of price point, because that's actually was kind of what I was thinking is, flipping furniture is one level of risk because it's, you
Yes.
don't really have a whole lot up front. But when it comes to a dump truck, that's a lot more up front. And when it comes to houses, it's even more up front. And a lot of people have trouble dealing with that because they're like, oh my gosh, I'm used to earning $5,000 a month or $2,000 a month. If I get this deal, it's going to be tens of thousands of dollars. This is so much bigger, and we tend to add so much pressure and anxiety to these types of impactful things. So my question to you is, how difficult was the transition from dump trucks to, I guess, houses?
It wasn't very difficult at all. I mean, you start with something small and then you grow into more zeros and commas.
Yeah, got it.
And two of my first real estate deals, I bought 2 pieces of land. The first one, I paid $1,200 for it, and it'd been valued at $69,000, and I paid $1,200. So most people, even if you make $5,000 a month, you could squirrel away $1,200 to buy some real estate, and then you are now a real estate investor. Like, that's why I did that.
Yeah.
I literally bought land just to become a real estate investor. The next piece I bought was a 1/2-acre piece of industrial land, and I paid $1,500 for it. So I'm still not talking about a whole lot of money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I rent the driveway to that second piece for $250 a month. So 6 months, I got all my money back. I've had it for 3.5 years, and that ROI, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't even know.
It doesn't matter. The point that I like, here's what's happening for a lot of people. I believe is happening when they're listening to you. They're going, oh, and that's good. They're going, oh, and they're giving themselves permission to actually move forward because it doesn't have to be, well, it's a $2 million investment. Well, don't start there. Start with something that you feel more emotionally comfortable with, and that you can work within. So what has this journey, if you will, actually, I'm gonna ask it this way. You said you're 4th generation. I'm going to take a stab and say most of the people listening, they are 1st generation.
Yeah.
Okay. So what advantage or perspective or, head start do you feel that you had by being 4th generation?
Every dinner conversation, every Thanksgiving, every Christmas was 30 minutes of fun and fluff and house school, and then an hour and a half on what's the price of diesel and how much can we get a Kenworth for and what's our P&L looking like. And so business conversations are so natural for me that I struggle talking about, what the Kardashians are doing. I have no idea. What does that matter to me? I have a hard time keeping, regular girlfriends because I don't have anything to talk about but real estate,
right,
or business. And so that's the advantage I got. But I'll tell you, the disadvantage of being the 4th generation is the people saying, I wonder if she's going to be the one that drops this whole empire. I wonder if she's going to be the one that screws it all up for the 4 generations ahead of her, or, 3 generations ahead of her and the future underneath her. And I got to tell you, it was hard to leave trucking because the loyalty I felt, because our bucks have always come from trucks. And I felt a little bit like I was abandoning the ship.
Wow. Never thought about that. So, okay. So talk to us about this transition then, because a number of people face transitions. Maybe they're, working in their job, etc., but they don't necessarily feel loyalty to their employer in that same way. Did that make it difficult for you to actually say, look, I'm this is what I am doing now. And I'm not doing this truck stuff anymore? All right, everybody. Thanks for listening, and I'm glad that you are enjoying what you are hearing thus far. But here's one of the things that's really important. One of the most important things that you can do is get started. One of the things that I've said before, and I say again, once you get started, stay started. But more importantly, there can be lots of roadblocks to getting started. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove one of those roadblocks for you and make it a little bit easier. Because the thing that I don't want to stop you is thinking, do I need a local number? How about a long distance number? Or should it be 800? How on earth am I going to make that happen so that people can contact me as I'm out there building my business, making my cash flow grow? But most importantly, understanding that it doesn't have to be difficult. Many of you may know, but if you don't, there's a company out there by the name of Grasshopper. And what I want you to do is I want you to go over to trygrasshopper.com/cashflow diary. Grasshopper is the entrepreneur's phone system. It works like a traditional phone system, but requires no hardware to purchase, no software to install. It's just a number that flat works. So if you are out there building that distributed workforce across many different locations, it's a way for you to still go out there and make your number be unified, simple, easy to use, something we've been using for quite some time. So again, go over to trygrasshopper.com/cashflow diary. Now, let's get back to the rest of the story.
Well, I think people may not feel loyal to their boss, but they do feel loyal to getting that regular check and having that contribution to their insurance. And they feel very loyal to their 401k benefits, whatever those are.
Right.
So there is some loyalty there, and it may not be to their boss or to their company, but it's to their peace of mind.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Does that? Okay. So then the next thing I would say is I worked 4 jobs, y'all. I was working 4 jobs when I started buying houses. And it got to be that those 4 jobs were in the way of me doing more deals. And I was, grumpy when I was at the trucking company because everybody knew I wanted to be out doing real estate. And it got to a point where I just had to say, all right, y'all, somebody else is going to have to do this because I got to take this afternoon. And I'm taking tomorrow morning. And, I just started whittling back on my time. I did not jump all the way into the deep end without a plan. I waded, kind of slowly into it until it consumed me. And that's what I would suggest. Get it going now. You can totally do 1 deal a month, part-time, half-time, using Saturdays. And I like to break it like this. The way I structure real estate, if you can create $300 a month, if you can buy a house and you make $300 a month, like not a whole lot. I'm not talking about tens of thousands of dollars. You don't have to invest anything in this house to get this $300 a month. But if you can get $300 a month and you do 1 deal a year for 2 years, just 2 years, that's 24 houses you'll have under your belt, just one at a time. And that'll be $7,200 a month coming into your checking account. And then most people will leave. If you do it for 3 years, you'll break 6 figures a month. I mean, $10,000 a month. So over the year, you'll have over 6 figures just doing slow and steady 1 deal a month, averaging $300.
Well, okay, so let's talk about that. Most people, when they're in pain, which they equate to their job and traveling to their job, commuting, and the work and dealing with the boss, the whole thing. We don't like to get out of pain slowly. You're asking everybody to be patient in a way that they might not have ever thought of being patient before. And to have vision, that's not easy.
No way. Come on. These people are already in a 9 to 5.
Yep.
They're planning on retiring in 40 years when they turn 65. I'm asking for 2 to 3 years. I don't think that's a lot of patience. And the way I do lease options, okay? And if somebody moves into one of my houses, I don't just get $300. Right. People give me $10, $15, $20, $40,000 to move into my houses.
Right.
The $300 is just the slow and steady that comes in. You can get some $10,000 months just getting started and increasing that $300.
Yeah, totally understood. So talk to me, if you will, when it comes to real estate. I mean, many people know my history with real estate, between the apartment buildings, the cell phone towers, all the stuff. And at some point I think they just stopped believing me. So
I agree.
I'm going to ask you, can anyone who wants to do this business?
Yes, and you can do this anywhere you want to because people are the same. Sellers are the same. We take our coffee different, our accents are different, but we put on our pants or our dresses the same way every day. And we all have the same problems. Everybody has parents that are aging. Everybody has friends with parents who are aging.
Yep.
And you know somebody who is a small town landlord.
Yep.
And eventually their portfolio is going to have to go somewhere. And your audience probably knows somebody whose parents are loaded, but their kids are stupid.
Whitney, I'm liking you already. Keep going.
And guess what's going to happen to that portfolio if your audience doesn't step up and say, hey, man, I will take that portfolio. I will buy my friend's inheritance. I will keep your portfolio intact. And then I will be loaded.
Totally. Okay, so here's the thing, though. The things that you were talking about require a completely different level of thinking, if you will, and if most people who have been subjected to our schooling system, notice I didn't say education, that they don't have the necessary facility to see or think in the way that you think. How could you help them cross that line? Because at the end of the day, what we have when we're business owners is ideas, and they have ideas. Their ideas are great, but how do they cross that line and go, yeah, I'm willing to express these ideas, and I have an expectation that you're going to fall in line and like these ideas and help me make them happen?
A lot of times as adults, it comes down to pride. And saying, I'm adult, I have kids, I have responsibilities, I need to be smart, I need to know what I'm doing. And so stepping out and starting a, semi-risky endeavor that you've never done before seems scary. But when you realize that you're actually coming to the table with an opportunity that nobody else is going to have, and you're coming to actually help people, when you focus on your sellers and when you focus on your buyers, that takes the pressure off of you. And if you look silly, if you make a little mistake, it's going to be fine. We've got ways around that. And you've just got to understand that your job here for the time that you have left on earth is to help as many people as possible. And when that becomes your goal, every entrepreneur knows that you need to find a problem and solve it. And when you can just roll real estate and helping people solve their real estate problems into your everyday life, again, I'm just asking one deal a month. I'm not trying to get you to do 10 or 15 deals and 1,000 phone calls. Just one. Just talk to 10 people a week. Just tell your Sunday school what you're trying to do. Tell your B&I group what you're trying to do. And you'll hit your, quota of 10 people a week really fast.
Right. Yeah, totally understood.
I like to keep it all just so small and so personal and so, organic and smooth. I don't like to feel like I'm out blasting with people with what I'm trying to do or this and that. I want to sneak in the back door of their head so that they start mentioning me to their friends with real estate problems without me having to be there. I get tons of leads that way just because I'm mouthy about it.
Right. As you said, how loud can I be? Now, when it comes down to it, though, a lot of people try to approach the real estate game by talking to realtors, because isn't that what... I'm sorry, what was that? Do us all a favor. Why, when the word realtor comes out, what's the reason for that response? Why, if I'm looking to build my cash flow, should maybe is there a better way? Is that what you're trying to say?
Realtors are in the service business of helping people who don't have time to do the research themselves. And I have a little riddle. You ready?
Okay. I feel like I should take out a pen or something, but go ahead.
The best agents I know are investors. And the best investors I know don't have a license.
Got it. Yeah, I don't have one.
I know, and I've been a fan of yours for years. And so when I have a license, and I'm the broker for Whitney Buys Houses, and my competition in Knoxville hates that my firm name is Whitney Buys Houses because I look like a wholesaler, but I'm licensed. And shouldn't I have a proper name? And not have bright pink signs on the side of the road, like they get so mad at me because I'm a threat. They don't understand what I'm doing. I don't follow their clear to close chase. I don't follow a lot of their guidelines. I don't put my stuff on the MLS because I don't need the MLS.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really good friends with the number one broker in Tennessee, and she and I are really good friends because we're both very strong women and we have very strong opinions. And I can see her perspective of, agents are necessary. I get that. But for investors, agents are not the number one way to go.
Okay. And well, I agree. But a lot of people, often, especially if they have a job, they don't really have, they feel like they don't have a lot of time. How would you suggest they get started then?
Stop watching TV.
Uh-oh. You about to hurt some people. Okay. Other than anything else? Or is that, is that enough?
Now you have 3 more hours on your day.
Right. Okay. So
Stop
what would they do?
TV.
What would they do with those 3 hours instead?
Research, call for sale by owners, call people who are trying to rent their property and not getting a property manager. I mean, spend some time on the phone, go driving for dollars. You'll be surprised if you'll get off your phone while you're driving. You'll be surprised at how many empty houses you're driving by every single day. And if you ask your husband or wife to also notice the empty houses they're driving by every single day, you'll realize how many opportunities are out there for you to get out there and make some money.
Yep. It's amazing how that is very, very, very true. Right now, we've been doing a significant amount of training and executing in the short-term rental space, and what it comes down to is now my wife, myself, my kid, everybody, we can't help but see for rent signs everywhere we go. Even if we try not to, they're just there. But as you said, we got to look up from our phones. But let me ask this. One of the big tenets of real estate is to be able to execute the whole thing with a team. Who would you say are the necessary people for that team? Who's on your team? How on earth did you go from 0 to 19 in the houses, the apartments, and all this other stuff? Like, what's your team look like?
I have an accountant who runs my numbers for me. That way I can get out there and shake hands and kiss babies.
Right.
And I have an attorney who can get me a contract turned around in about 24 hours, which keeps my sellers happy, keeps my tenant buyers moving in quickly. And those 2 people alone help me run my ship.
Got it.
Because I like to be a control freak. I like being a control freak. I don't want to train somebody else to do my calls. I don't want to train somebody else to, I would actually like somebody to run my post online and stuff. But a lot of the things that I do, I think I get further with more sellers because it's me. You see Whitney Buys Houses sign or ad or something, you call, Whitney answers, Whitney comes to see your house, and Whitney closes.
I like that. Yes, I get that. Totally understood.
And I'm not a Marine, but I'm, lean and mean like one.
Got it. Well, I think the point that I was really going after, and you made it perfectly, is that I'm thinking of all those things that often someone will put in front of simply just writing an offer. They're like, I don't have a team. I need a realtor.
No, you don't.
But Whitney, I need the money. Where's that going to happen?
You don't need the money. Even a regular real estate contract will give you 5 or 15 or 30 days to put your earnest money down. What money do you need? You need a contract. And when you get a contract, you put that contract out there for sale, and then you find out how much money you're going to make.
Yeah. You know what's amazing to me is that no matter how many real estate professionals I talk to, we all end up saying the same thing.
The same thing, I know. It used to drive me crazy too, because when I started, people were like, "Oh, just get the deal, the money will happen," and I'm like, "That's not right." And it is right. And it is annoying. But, my students, my friends tell me that exact same thing all the time. After you get that first one done, the rest of them, it's not smooth sailing, but getting that first one done and getting over that hump is so much better than sitting there and, wringing your hands and thinking about, well, I need this and I need that and I need to set up this LLC and I need this website. No, you need a contract.
I didn't even bring up the LLC thing, but yeah, you just totally went there.
But that's what people think they need. Nobody cares what your LLC is called. Nobody cares if you even have one. One of the best investors I know in Knoxville is like pushing 80, and he doesn't have an LLC, and he's got more land, apartments, houses than anybody I know, and they're in his name, which I think is crazy, but it proves the point that you don't need an LLC.
Right. No, no argument there. No argument there. I just want to make sure that, they hear it. You know how sometimes like when your dad says or your mom says the same thing to you and you don't hear it, but a total stranger comes in and says something, you're like, that's new teaching. And mom's like, I've been telling you that for 3 years. I just want to make sure that we hit all those so that people get into action. So, which kind of leads me to this question. Well, if all of these things are true, if, the LLCs and these roadblocks, the money, the credit, this stuff isn't really a roadblock, in your opinion, why aren't more people doing this? Why aren't more people started? That's
the pride again. They don't want to hear somebody tell them no. They don't want to get their feelings hurt. They've worked hard, maybe they went to college, maybe they've just been hustling for a couple of years and they've gotten to a certain point and maybe they've plateaued, but they got comfortable there and their pride is stopping them from stepping out again. One of the things that I have on my side is that I'm young and that I am very playful and I'm very much like a kid. Kids have no fear because they don't have that much pride yet. They don't know that they shouldn't try this because it might not work. But adults have seen their friends try stuff and it didn't work, and they've heard what people said about them when they, went out and tried to do something crazy, and they don't want people to talk about them like that, which just comes down to pride. And I'm not saying I don't have pride, but there's not a whole lot of shame in my game. Like, I'm going to get out there and see what I can make happen. And then people come around later and they're like, hey, can you kind of tell me how to do that?
Right. Yeah, I totally understood. Totally understood. So for those that have listened this far, I'm sure if they're enjoying your conversation like I am right now, I'm sure they want to find out more about what you're doing, where you are online, and maybe even, who knows, there could be someone next door to you who's going to walk over and say, hey, could you please buy my house? But what's going to be the best way for them to track you down?
My website is probably the best way to find me. It's whitneynicely.com. And from there, there's lots of little buttons to find me all over the place.
Okay, got it. Totally understood. Totally understood. Now, I have a question for you because I'm curious to hear what your answer is going to be. Let's pretend for a moment that someone listening is, you know what? They said, all right, Jay did it. Whitney's didn't. I've listened to all these podcast episodes. I'm going to do it too. And they finally got themselves to that point. They're standing at what I like to call the precipice of decision in a lot of ways. And maybe they're standing right in front of the superhero outfit store ready to pick out their cape and tights. They're going to jump into this pool this time. So let's pretend for a moment that when you make these types of decisions, that we all have this thing that happens in the back of our head. It usually comes in the form of a voice, often telling us what we can't do, why it won't work, who are we, and girl, don't you know you crazy? That's a man's game. You can't do that. You know the voice I'm talking about. And for some people, they're related to that voice. So my question to you is as follows.
Yes, I have done
what
this once today.
would you suggest to that person who's standing there thinking and feeling like their future is ahead of them, but has that voice ringing in the back of their head? What would you suggest that they do?
So this happened to me. I was at my first real estate boot camp, and I was really excited. I was high on life. I was going to be a millionaire in like 10 days, And
or
I
7, depending on how fast you move. No.
Well, depending on which guru you're listening to, right? So So I called my boyfriend when I got home, and I was telling all these things that I'd learned, and oh my gosh, I was so excited. I could not wait to get home and start, getting out there and taking action. And he said to me, I'm not kidding, Whitney, you have church camp mentality. When you get home, this won't work. Nobody will want to do this with you, and you've wasted your time and money. You need to just come back home and keep trucking.
If that should occur, I may ask you to stop and restart, and what that simply means is
luckily,
to snap into the microphone 3 times and then wait 3
I told
seconds and then
him
pick up right where you left off.
hold my beer and watch this.
Sounds great. And
of course it was
I hope none of that happens.
I like it. I like it.
And I did. I used that as the fire to ignite my
with that
engine.
being said,
And that's when I did 14 deals in 9 months. And the reason I stopped in 9 months is because I thought after he saw me do these 14 deals, I'll tell you, I was 6 deals in before he was like, I think you've just been lucky.
Building cash flow.
And I was 14 deals. I was actually on my way to the open house when I was still doing open houses for my 12th deal. And we were at Krispy Kreme parking lot, and he was like, I don't know why you're still trying this. Like, it's just not going to work any longer. You've just had beginner's luck for the first year.
What you and I are going to do is to
you need to just keep your steady job, because this is when I was thinking about leaving trucking. And I remember looking at him in the Krispy Kreme, and I told him, I said, I'm taking you back to your car. You can go back to Georgia, and I don't care if I ever see you again. Because I just had this negative Nancy in my passenger seat to life. And I told him later, like a week or two later, when I was speaking to him again, that he either had to get into real estate or
go by
really
the time this gets out.
see me later.
Because
I was going straight to the top, and he was not going to hold me down.
Get your first
and he agreed. He went to another house buying boot camp with me in like 2 weeks, and then he went to apartment boot camp with me, and then we went under contract in like 7 days and bought our first complex together. So the houses are mine, the apartments are ours, and we are married now. Perfect. But I still like to give him just a little taste of that every morning for breakfast. Like you almost
CTA,
stopped me.
And you kind of go from there, if that makes sense.
And he'll hang his head and say, yes, I know, I'm sorry.
All right, so...
So if you have that person in your life, whether you're married to them or not, or whether it's your mama or your daddy or your boss or whoever it is,
Mr. Massey,
you tell them to sit down and watch. Okay.
And then you forgot the hold my beer part. Come on. So in a moment, there's going to be about
well,
3
maybe your
seconds
listeners
of
don't
silence.
drink beer.
Yeah. I know. Understand that was funny. I'm like, and I start talking towards the end. Only the first question and the last question. Yeah. No, and are the ones that are. There is a certain amount of believing in yourself, me listening to you, disregarding what other people think, because ultimately everybody wants to hear. Paying your bills or living. And then towards the end, there'll be a final question after which then you'll answer. I'll do the outro, and might as well go for it and try. So there'll be 3 more seconds of silence, and you and I can debrief about whatever you like at this moment. That you've said. Now, speaking of the intro, you're the one who's ultimately going to be responsible, and kudos to you for about telling him where he needed to be. That happens often. I look forward to watching my daughters do the something similar. I'm actually kind of afraid for the guy. There's something in particular case, but you want me to make sure that I mention. They'll work it out. So that's good. I definitely wanted to say thanks for being who you are.
I guess that I started flipping dump trucks, and then I got into houses. I went from, a mom and pop business making $2,000 a month to my first real estate deal, $15,000. A little bit of one of my goals. I couldn't hardly go back. 2017, I have to tell you, I'm fangirling a little bit over here on my side of the mic.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know what time it is. You just want to make sure. Otherwise, I'll just pick stuff. I'm good. I just want to make sure if there's something I'm supposed to say. Because, well, it would be nice, but
no, whatever you like, I'm sure it'll be perfect.
All right, cool. That can help you move one step closer to those goals. And at the end of the day,
I am the broker for Whitney Buys Houses, but I'm also like an anti-realtor realtor. So if you want to say that, that's fine.
Say that again. You're the get to quote unquote blame for it.
I'm the broker for Whitney Buys Houses. I don't do wholesaling. I actually buy houses, and I'm like an anti-realtor
It's been fun talking to you today.
I don't like realtors. I don't like that game. But I have a license.
Okay. All right. Good stuff, ma'am.
I can get into that.
That just got interesting.
Whatever you want to say.
That just got interesting. You imagined it would be.
Absolutely. We can cover
totally
that.
Understood. I just
a natural conversation with another real estate nerd. Whatever you want to say.
Pretty much. Totally understood. All right. Give me 1 second. Let me. So yeah, we'll get around to. Let me see where we are. Blah blah blah. This probably won't be out until about.
Blow your mind a little bit.
Well, it's not on here, and I'm like, that'll work. I can use that. recorded. And then,
Dang it, it's not on there? I need to update it then.
do that now. Kind of promote from there.
The broker part or the anti-realtor
Or
part?
the broker any other questions?
Yeah, because nope, I really do appreciate
The
you.
broker
If you
part isn't
would-
now. That is
disappointing. I'm
Neither
definitely
of
gonna
those.
have to
Send me your address. I'll send you a thank you.
I can
speak
give it to you
the
right now.
anti-realtor thing a lot, but I
Yeah,
don't know
I
that I want
understand.
that
I
printed.
understand. I understand. All right, cool. All right, here we go.
Wait,
All right, so as I said, it's going to be about 3 seconds of silence. And
Portola
as a matter of formality,
Number
if you would please pronounce your name for me.
321.
3, 2, 1. Whitney, like Houston.
Hill.
Nicely,
Yeah,
like
that's
nicely
what I
done.
thought. Just wanted to make sure.
92.
From East Tennessee, we like it all
I'm
simple.
down for simple because then I have a shot at actually getting it right.
27472 Ortola Parkway.
All right,
Too.
here
Skype
we
as well.
go.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else?
Nope, that's it. Thank you.
Awesome. Have fun. Go get them.
All right, I will.
All right. I'll talk.
Tell your girls hello.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Cashflow Diary podcast. I'm your host, Jay Massey, and I'm glad that you are here today because here's the thing. You may have been listening for hundreds of episodes now, right? I mean, we're in the 400s at this point. And what's interesting is that some of you may have been listening from the beginning. You've listened this entire time. Thank you. You've shared with friends. Thank you. But you still haven't started. Like, why? And I don't know that answer. So what we are going to do today is we're going to give you yet another perspective on how skills that you have today can be transformed into a completely different industry, be it real estate or be it something else that you want to use to build cash flow. Because what I've said before, and I say again, where you start isn't necessarily where you stay. And what's important is that once you get started, that you stay started. And I think today's guest has done exactly that. I have with me none other than Whitney Nicely. Now, already I'm happy because you can't have a name like Nicely and be mean. So this is going to be fun for all of us. So make sure that you are listening, but understand this, that she has went from 0, so dead start, to 19 houses, 19 apartment units, and as she describes it, 7 chunks of land. Now, I don't know how big a chunk of land is, but we're going to figure that one out in a matter of 36 months. Now, I find that interesting, but what I really think is strange, for at least for me, when I think about it, is that she's got a dog that weighs 130 pounds. That's going to be interesting to understand too, but she also is a wife, 2 kids, and did all of this. Guys, you got to understand, when it comes down to getting started, staying started, and growing, that's exactly what Whitney's about. In fact, she even calls herself the anti-realtor realtor. So we're going to learn something today. Let's talk to Whitney Nicely. Whitney, are you there?
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me. This is going to be fun.
I can't imagine anything else happening. Like I said, I mean, you can't have your name and not be fun. So we're going to dive right into it. Now, before we get started, and this being your first time here, I tend to ask everybody the first time that they're here the same first question. You ready? All right. I tend to look
Yes,
at
sir.
today's entrepreneurs a lot like yesterday's superheroes, you know, like Black Widow, Wonder Woman, the Hulk, etc. Because I think superheroes and entrepreneurs have a ton of things in common. Chief among them is that occasionally as an entrepreneur, I can envision myself, you know, flying around town, possibly wearing a cape and tights, saving my customers with our products and services. But just like a superhero, an entrepreneur has a beginning. So think about Spider-Man, for example. There was a time where he was just a kid going to school, trying to earn his good grades, and you know what? He said, I'm going to take some photos to get a little pizza money and maybe take a girl out every now and again. And then one day, he gets bit by a spider. He discovers he's got this new ability and he has to choose to use it for good or evil. So, with that being said, my question to you is as follows. Before your houses, before the apartments, before, you know, teaching and helping all the people, before all of your programs, before the things that you've done now and what people know you for today, what we want to know is, who is Whitney Nicely?
Whitney Nicely is a local small town girl who had a big dream to bust into the good old boys club and shake things up. And that's
Did you
exactly
say
what I've
good
done.
old boys
That's what
club?
I wake up.
Oh, this is gonna be good.
You
Keep
know
going.
it's
I'm
there.
sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, that's exactly what I wanted. I grew up as a entrepreneur's kid. I'm fourth generation entrepreneur, and everybody that I could see around me was men, except my mom. My mom stood out like a sore southern thumb in this sea of men, especially in real estate investing. And I thought, she's not doing as much as she could, and I bet I'm loud enough to get out there and really do something. And that's kind of my goal
To be
every
loud
single
enough?
day. Yep, I'm really mouthy. I love real estate, and I like to think outside the box and push the envelope, push the bounds of what people think women should be doing and what people think real estate investors should be doing.
Let's start this. Did you just? I mean, maybe in this you might be the exception. Most people that I meet don't wake up one day and go, you know what? I'm going to be a real estate investor today. And so I'm curious, what was your evolution? Or did you just wake up and go, well, real estate is for me?
No, I didn't wake up with it. I got smacked upside the head with it. My mom has always been a real estate investor, and she's always been a boring, old, slow investor where she'd save a bunch of money and then go buy something, and then eventually she'd get her money back. She had no plans, no strategies, no nothing. And I was watching her make the deposits one day. She got all the rent in and she was making the deposits. And I was like, wait a second, Mom, why don't I get any money in the mailbox every month? And she was like, well, duh, Whitney, you have to buy something first.
Right.
Like, no sit down conversation about Robert Kiyosaki and the cash flow and, building up generation. None of that. She was just like, go figure it out. Oh. Okay, thank you.
Wow.
Okay, yes, thank you.
That's a great idea. I'll be right back.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what I did.
Got it. Interesting. So, go figure it out. You would think I would have thought you might have said, okay, step one here, step two, do this. But
nope. She had to figure it out, and she figured I was smart enough, and I could figure it out too. And now I
was
own more
going to say
houses
she
than
was actually right. It sounds like so that's good. So go ahead.
But that's my mom's parenting style. That's how she always was. You want to sell Girl Scout cookies? Go knock on the neighbors' doors. You want to sell coupon books? Load up. I'll take you around to, all the grandparents and, whatever. And you can get out and go knock on the door and fill it all out and submit it. And
got it. Well, that actually speaks to something, because there's a number of people who are listening who are, I'll say, waiting for opportunity to knock on their door. How necessary has it been for you to have something other than that waiting around in order to make any of the things that you've done happen?
Another thing that my mom taught me to do is not procrastinate. You get an idea, you think you're going to go do something, get started on it, get it figured out. Just like you said in the introduction, get started and keep going. Stay started. And that was pretty much my mom's motto too. And that's what she taught me to do. And so I don't have that curse of sitting around and thinking things through. I'm more of a figure it out as we're going kind of girl. And I get more done that way because I don't always pre-plan for the bad stuff to happen, because I just solve whatever's coming at me at the moment instead of what might, could, and most time never happen.
I like that last part. Most time never happen. Most time never happen. Okay, so take me through this journey, because I'm gathering from what you're saying, there were Girl Scout cookies somewhere in there that you wanted to do. So how do we go from Girl Scout cookies to your first real estate transaction? I'm assuming there are other things that happened in along that journey.
There was lots of other things, because, when I was a kid, Christmas would be coming up. My dad would go out and buy an old junker car, bring it home, change the oil, wash it, take pictures of it. And then at that time, he'd put it in the newspaper and he'd sell it and he'd make a couple extra $1,000. And that's how we get Christmas presents. Like, I was raised by people who, if they needed more money or wanted more money or wanted to take a trip or wanted to, buy a four-wheeler or a golf cart or something, they would figure out a way to make a big lump. And so I was just raised with that mindset, like go out and do something. So in college, I started flipping furniture on Craigslist, or I'd go to auctions and buy couches and, whole estates. And I'd take them home and put them in my house and, kind of doll it up a little bit like it was my furniture. And then I'd sell it on Craigslist or Facebook. And then, so I was making a couple hundred extra bucks a week, or, sometimes I'd make $1,000 or, nothing huge. But I was at the trucking company, and I was working 4 different jobs at the trucking company. I was flipping furniture on the side. I was driving from Knoxville to Atlanta to see my boyfriend and go on travel ball games with his kids. And then I decided it'd be fun to also add in flipping dump trucks. So I would travel across the Southeast and pick up dump trucks, and I'd have to take 2 or 3 men with me to drive them home because I wasn't licensed. That didn't stop me. I could still go buy them. And I'd buy the trucks, take them home. The guys would clean them up, again, change the oil, and I'd flip them. I'd sell them to guys all across the country. They'd fly in from everywhere to buy my dump trucks because I had a really good product and a really good price. So that's how I learned. And then in 2009, in the middle of the recession, I was still living at home and working for mom at the truck company. It was just a lot of mom time, And she had a rental house, and I was like, it's close, but maybe I could move into it. Well, we, urged her tenants to leave, and they did. And we walked in. They'd been there for 12 years. I don't think they'd vacuumed or wiped down the countertops in the entire 12 years they were there. So we flipped it. And in that process, I fell in love, Jay. I absolutely fell in love with, ordering the people around, getting the materials, and seeing something ugly come to life and be pretty. And I fell in love with the house. I moved in. I lived there for 7 years. I'd bought 16 houses, and I was still living in my mom's rental house when I finally moved out last year.
I love it. Okay. All right. Now, you said a lot of things in there, and I'm sure many of us want to understand how you flip a dump truck. We'll get to that in a moment. But for the benefit of everybody, when she said that her father put something in the newspaper, that's what we used before there were blogs and websites. Because I know that might have thrown some of you like, what's that? Where's the secret newspaper? Now, okay. So what I'm sensing is a pattern. You buy things that are broken, you fix them and resell them. That is what I'm sensing from the path that you were telling me. But you started
Absolutely.
with furniture. Like, help me there, because I am the least handy person that you probably have ever talked to. So when it comes to flipping furniture, I'm trying to I don't quite have a picture of how that works.
So we have estate sales. Sometimes they're called garage sales on the lower end. And people advertise those on Craigslist. They advertise them on Facebook. Also, auctioneers around me have awesome real auction estate sales. And I would go and buy a table for 10, 15, maybe $50, take it home, put it in my living room, and put an ad up on Craigslist that said, hey, I'm going to upgrade my coffee table. Who wants this one? And sell it for $150 or $200.
You didn't do anything to it?
No, I just wipe the dust off of it.
I love this.
That's what. And so when I flip houses now,
Right.
I kind of do the same thing. I put a little lipstick on a pig. I don't really gut the kitchen or do anything amazing. But the pictures look really good.
It's something to be said
afterwards.
for one's marketing skill. Exactly. Because that's what I was trying to understand. I'm
Yes.
like, a table's a table. How do you make it a table suddenly worth more? Yeah.
I'll tell you. And I do this with my houses too. It's a soft staging kit. It's girl stuff. You put little
I had no
doilies
shot
out,
right
and you put
there.
some
Right. As soon as you
breakables
said it's
on
girl
it.
stuff, I'm like, oh, no wonder.
I make it look like mine. And what do women want? Something another woman has. And so I make it look like mine. I put magazines out. I put little candles out. I doll it up a little bit.
Okay, got it. So now I have a question then. How do you doll up a dump truck? It's a dump truck.
Well, that one, you wash it, and while it's still wet, you take a picture of it while the sun's shining on it.
Okay.
Sometimes you can buff out the bumpers. Most of the time, just
Got it.
changing the lights or making sure the backup alarm works is enough for people to fly across the country and hand you $20,000 or $30,000, $50,000.
All right, dump trucks it is. So then with that kind of price point, because that's actually was kind of what I was thinking is, flipping furniture is one level of risk because it's, you don't really have a whole lot up front. But when it comes to a dump truck, that's a lot more up front. And when it comes to houses, it's even more up front. And a lot of people have trouble dealing with that because they're like, oh my gosh, I'm used to earning $5,000 a month or $2,000 a month. If I get this deal, it's going to be tens of thousands of dollars. This is so much bigger, and we tend to add so much pressure and anxiety to these types of impactful things. So my question to you is, how difficult was the transition from dump trucks to, I guess, houses?
It wasn't very difficult at all. I mean, you start with something small and then you grow into more zeros and commas.
Got it.
And two of my first real estate deals, I bought 2 pieces of land. The first one, I paid $1,200 for it, and it'd been valued at $69,000, and I paid $1,200. So most people, even if you make $5,000 a month, you could squirrel away $1,200 to buy some real estate, and then you are now a real estate investor. Like, that's why I did that. I literally bought land just to become a real estate investor. The next piece I bought was a half-acre piece of industrial land, and I paid $1,500 for it. So I'm still not talking about a whole lot of money, right? And I rent the driveway to that second piece for $250 a month. So 6 months, I got all my money back. I've had it for 3.5 years, and that ROI, I mean, I don't know.
It doesn't matter. The point that I like, here's what's happening for a lot of people. I believe is happening when they're listening to you. They're going, oh, and that's good. They're going, oh, and they're giving themselves permission to actually move forward because it doesn't have to be, well, it's a $2 million investment. Well, don't start there. Start with something that you feel more emotionally comfortable with, and that you can work within. So, what has this journey, if you will, actually, I'm gonna ask it this way. You said you're 4th generation. I'm going to take a stab and say most of the people listening, they are 1st generation. Okay. So what advantage or perspective or, head start do you feel that you had by being 4th generation?
Every dinner conversation, every Thanksgiving, every Christmas was 30 minutes of fun and fluff and house school, and then an hour and a half on what's the price of diesel and how much can we get a Kenworth for and what's our P&L looking like. And so business conversations are so natural for me that I struggle talking about, what the Kardashians are doing. I have no idea. What does that matter to me? I have a hard time keeping, regular girlfriends because I don't have anything to talk about but real estate or business. And so that's the advantage I got. But I'll tell you, the disadvantage of being the 4th generation is the people saying, I wonder if she's going to be the one that drops this whole empire. I wonder if she's going to be the one that screws it all up for the 4 generations ahead of her, or 3 generations ahead of her and the future underneath her. And I got to tell you, it was hard to leave trucking because the loyalty I felt, because our bucks have always come from trucks. And I felt a little bit like I was abandoning the ship.
Never thought about that. So, okay. So talk to us about this transition then, because a number of people face transitions. Maybe they're, working in their job, etc., but they don't necessarily feel loyalty to their employer in that same way. Did that make it difficult for you to actually say, look, I'm this is what I am doing now. And I'm not doing this truck stuff anymore?
Well, I think people may not feel loyal to their boss, but they do feel loyal to getting that regular check and having that contribution to their insurance. And they feel very loyal to their 401k benefits, whatever those are. So there is some loyalty there, and it may not be to their boss or to their company, but it's to their peace of mind.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Does that, okay. So then the next thing I would say is I worked 4 jobs, y'all. I was working 4 jobs when I started buying houses. And it got to be that those 4 jobs were in the way of me doing more deals. And I was, grumpy when I was at the trucking company because everybody knew I wanted to be out doing real estate. And it got to a point where I just had to say, all right, y'all, somebody else is going to have to do this because I got to take this afternoon and I'm taking tomorrow morning. And, I just started whittling back on my time. I did not jump all the way into the deep end without a plan. I waited, kind of slowly into it until it consumed me. And that's what I would suggest. Get it going now. You can totally do 1 deal a month, part-time, half-time, using Saturdays. And I like to break it like this. The way I structure real estate, if you can create $300 a month, if you can buy a house and you make $300 a month, like not a whole lot. I'm not talking about tens of thousands of dollars. You don't have to invest anything in this house to get this $300 a month. But if you can get $300 a month and you do 1 deal a year for 2 years, just 2 years, that's 24 houses you'll have under your belt, just one at a time. And that'll be $7,200 a month coming into your checking account. And then most people will leave. If you do it for 3 years, you'll break 6 figures a month. I mean, 10,000 a month. So over the year, you'll have over 6 figures just doing slow and steady, 1 deal a month, averaging $300.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Most people, when they're in pain, which they equate to their job and traveling to their job, commuting, and the work and dealing with the boss, the whole thing, we don't like to get out of pain slowly. You're asking everybody to be patient in a way that they might not have ever thought of being patient before. And to have vision, that's not easy.
Jake, no way. Come on. These people are already in a 9 to 5. They're planning on retiring in 40 years when they turn 65. I'm asking for 2 to 3 years. I don't think that's a lot of patience. And the way I do lease options, okay? And if somebody moves into one of my houses, I don't just get $300. People give me $10, $15, $20, $40,000 to move into my houses. The $300 is just the slow and steady that comes in. You can get some $10,000 months just getting started and increasing that $300.
Totally understood. So talk to me, if you will, when it comes to real estate. I mean, many people know my history with real estate, between the apartment buildings, the cell phone towers, all the stuff, and at some point I think they just stopped believing me. So I'm going to ask you.
Oh, I agree.
Can anyone who wants to do this business?
Yes, and you can do this anywhere you want to because people are the same. Sellers are the same. We take our coffee different, our accents are different, but we put on our pants or our dresses the same way every day. And we all have the same problems. Everybody has parents that are aging. Everybody has friends with parents who are aging. And you know somebody who is a small town landlord, and eventually their portfolio is going to have to go somewhere. And your audience probably knows somebody whose parents are loaded, but their kids are stupid.
Whitney, I'm liking you already. Keep going.
And guess what's going to happen to that portfolio if your audience doesn't step up and say, hey, man, I will take that portfolio. I will buy my friend's inheritance. I will keep your portfolio intact. And then I will be loaded.
Totally. Okay, so here's the thing, though. The things that you were talking about require a completely different level of thinking, if you will, and if most people who have been subjected to our schooling system, notice I didn't say education, that they don't have the necessary facility to see or think in the way that you think. How could you help them cross that line? Because at the end of the day, what we have when we're business owners is ideas, and they have ideas. Their ideas are great, But how do they cross that line and go, yeah, I'm willing to express these ideas, and I have an expectation that you're going to fall in line and like these ideas and help me make them happen?
A lot of times as adults, it comes down to pride and saying, I'm adult, I have kids, I have responsibilities, I need to be smart, I need to know what I'm doing. And so stepping out and starting a, semi-risky endeavor that you've never done before seems scary. But when you realize that you're actually coming to the table with an opportunity that nobody else is going to have, and you're coming to actually help people, when you focus on your sellers and when you focus on your buyers, that takes the pressure off of you. And if you look silly, if you make a little mistake, it's going to be fine. We've got ways around that. And you've just got to understand that your job here for the time that you have left on earth is to help as many people as possible. And when that becomes your goal, every entrepreneur knows that you need to find a problem and solve it. And when you can just roll real estate and helping people solve their real estate problems into your everyday life, again, I'm just asking one deal a month. I'm not trying to get you to do 10 or 15 deals and 1,000 phone calls. Just one. Just talk to 10 people a week. Just tell your Sunday school what you're trying to do. Tell your B&I group what you're trying to do. And you'll hit your, quota of 10 people a week really fast.
Yeah, totally understood. Go ahead.
And I like to keep it all just so small and so personal and so, organic and smooth. I don't like to feel like I'm out blasting with people with what I'm trying to do or this and that. I want to sneak in the back door of their head so that they start mentioning me to their friends with real estate problems without me having to be there. I get tons of leads that way just because I'm mouthy about it.
As you said, how loud can I be? Now, when it comes down to it, though, a lot of people try to approach the real estate game by talking to realtors, because isn't that what... I'm sorry, what was that? Do us all a favor. Why, when the word realtor comes out, what's the reason for that response? Why, if I'm looking to build my cash flow, should maybe is there a better way? Is that what you're trying to say?
Realtors are in the service business of helping people who don't have time to do the research themselves. And I have a little riddle. You ready?
Okay. I feel like I should take out a pen or something, but go ahead.
The best agents I know are investors, and the best investors I know don't have a license.
Got it. Yeah, I don't have one.
I know, and I've been a fan of yours for years. And so when I have a license, and I'm the broker for Whitney Buys Houses, and my competition in Knoxville hates that my firm name is Whitney Buys Houses because I look like a wholesaler, but I'm licensed. And shouldn't I have a proper name and not have bright pink signs on the side of the road? They get so mad at me because I'm a threat. They don't understand what I'm doing. I don't follow their clear to close chase. I don't follow a lot of their guidelines. I don't put my stuff on the MLS because I don't need the MLS. And I'm really good friends with the number one broker in Tennessee, and she and I are really good friends because we're both very strong women and we have very strong opinions. And I can see her perspective of, agents are necessary. I get that. But for investors, agents are not the number one way to go.
And well, I agree. But a lot of people often, especially if they have a job, they don't really have, they feel like they don't have a lot of time. How would you suggest they get started then?
Stop watching TV.
You about to hurt some people. Okay. Other than anything else? Or is that you're saying, is that enough?
Suddenly now you have 3 more hours on your day.
Okay, so what would they do? What would they do with those 3 hours
instead? Research, call for sale by owners, call people who are trying to rent their property and not getting a property manager. I mean, spend some time on the phone, go driving for dollars. You'll be surprised if you'll get off your phone while you're driving. You'll be surprised at how many empty houses you're driving by every single day. And if you ask your husband or wife to also notice the empty houses they're driving by every single day, you'll realize how many opportunities are out there for you to get out there and make some money.
It's amazing how that is very, very, very true. Right now, we've been doing a significant amount of training and executing in the short-term rental space, and what it comes down to is now my wife, myself, my kid, everybody, we can't help but see for rent signs everywhere we go. Even if we try not to, they're just there. But as you said, we got to look up from our phones. But let me ask this. One of the big tenets of real estate is to be able to execute the whole thing with a team. Who would you say are the necessary people for that team? Who's on your team? How on earth did you go from 0 to 19 in the houses, the apartments, and all this other stuff? Like, what's your team look like?
I have an accountant who runs my numbers for me. That way I can get out there and shake hands and kiss babies. And I have an attorney who can get me a contract turned around in about 24 hours, which keeps my sellers happy, keeps my tenant buyers moving in quickly. And those two people alone help me run my ship.
Got it.
Because I like to be a control freak. I like being a control freak. I don't want to train somebody else to do my calls. I don't want to train somebody else to, I would actually like somebody to run my post online and stuff. But a lot of the things that I do, I think I get further with more sellers because it's me. You see Whitney Buys Houses sign or ad or something, you call, Whitney answers, Whitney comes to see your house, or Whitney closes.
I like that. Yes, I get that. Totally understood.
And I'm not a Marine, but I'm, lean and mean like one.
Got it. Well, I think the point that I was really going after, and you made it perfectly, is that I'm thinking of all those things that often someone will put in front of simply just writing an offer. They're like, I don't have a team. I need a realtor. But no,
you don't.
So then, but Whitney, I need the money. Where's that going to happen?
You don't need the money. Even a regular real estate contract will give you 5 or 15 or 30 days to put your earnest money down. What money do you need? You need a contract. And when you get a contract, you put that contract out there for sale, and then you find out how much money you're going to make.
You know what's amazing to me is that no matter how many real estate professionals I talk to, we all end up saying the same thing.
The same thing, I know. It used to drive me crazy too, because when I started, people were like, oh, just get the deal, the money will happen. And I'm like, that's not right. And it is right. And it is annoying. But, my students, my friends tell me that exact same thing all the time. After you get that first one done, the rest of them, it's not smooth sailing, but getting that first one done and getting over that hump is so much better than sitting there and, wringing your hands and thinking about, well, I need this and I need that and I need to set up this LLC and I need this website. No, you need a contract.
I didn't even bring up the LLC thing, but yeah, you just totally went there.
But that's what people think they need. Nobody cares what your LLC is called. Nobody cares if you even have one. One of the best investors I know in Knoxville is like pushing 80, and he doesn't have an LLC, and he's got more land, apartments, houses than anybody I know, and they're in his name, which I think is crazy. But it proves the point that you don't need an LLC.
No argument there. I just want to make sure that, they hear it. You know how sometimes, like, when your dad says or your mom says the same thing to you and you don't hear it, but a total stranger comes in and says something, you're like, that's new teaching. And mom's like, I've been telling you that for 3 years. I just want to make sure that we hit all those so that people get into action. So, which kind of leads me to this question. Well, if all of these things are true, if, the LLCs and these roadblocks, the money, the credit, this stuff isn't really a roadblock. In your opinion, why aren't more people doing this? Why aren't more people started?
That's the pride again. They don't want to hear somebody tell them no. They don't want to get their feelings hurt. They've worked hard. Maybe they went to college. Maybe they've just been hustling for a couple of years and they've gotten to a certain point and maybe they've plateaued, but they got comfortable there and their pride is stopping them from stepping out again. One of the things that I have on my side is that I'm young and that I am very playful and I'm very much like a kid. Kids have no fear because they don't have that much pride yet. They don't know that they shouldn't try this because it might not work. But adults have seen their friends try stuff and it didn't work, and they've heard what people said about them when they, went out and tried to do something crazy, and they don't want people to talk about them like that, which just comes down to pride. And I'm not saying I don't have pride, but there's not a whole lot of shame in my game. Like, I'm going to get out there and see what I can make happen. And then people come around later and they're like, hey, can you kind of tell me how to do that?
Yeah, I totally understood. Totally understood. So for those that have listened this far, I'm sure if they're enjoying your conversation like I am right now, I'm sure they want to find out more about what you're doing, where you are online, and maybe even, who knows, there could be someone next door to you who's going to walk over and say, hey, could you please buy my house? But what's going to be the best way for them to track you down?
My website is probably the best way to find me. It's whitneynicely.com. And from there, there's lots of little buttons to find me.
Got it.
All over the place.
Totally understood. Now, I have a question for you because I'm curious to hear what your answer is going to be. Let's pretend for a moment that someone listening is, you know what? They said, all right, Jay did it. Whitney's didn't. I've listened to all these podcast episodes. I'm going to do it too. And they finally got themselves to that point. They're standing at what I like to call the precipice of decision in a lot of ways. And maybe they're standing right in front of the superhero outfit store ready to pick out their cape and tights. They're going to jump into this pool this time. So let's pretend for a moment that when you make these types of decisions, that we all have this thing that happens in the back of our head. It usually comes in the form of a voice. Often telling us what we can't do, why it won't work, who are we, and girl, don't you know you crazy? That's a man's game. You can't do that. You know the voice I'm talking about. And for some people, they're related to that voice. So my question to you is as follows. What would you suggest to that person who's standing there thinking and feeling like their future is ahead of them, but has that voice ringing in the back of their head? What would you suggest that they do?
So this happened to me. I was at my first real estate boot camp and I was really excited. I was high on life. I was going to be a millionaire in like 10 days,
or 7, depending on how fast you
I called my depending on which guru you're listening to, right? So I called my boyfriend when I got home and I was telling all these things that I'd learned, and oh my gosh, I was so excited. I could not wait to get home and start, getting out there and taking action. And he said to me, I'm not kidding, Whitney, you have church camp mentality. When you get home, this won't work. Nobody will want to do this with you. And you've wasted your time and money. You need to just come back home and keep trucking. Luckily, I told him to hold my beer and watch this.
Of course it was a beer. I like it.
And I did. I used that as the fire to ignite my engine. And that's when I did 14 deals in 9 months. And the reason I stopped in 9 months is because I thought after he saw me do these 14 deals, I'll tell you, I was 6 deals in before he was like, I think you've just been lucky. And I was 14 deals. I was actually on my way to the open house when I was still doing open houses for my 12th deal. And we were at Krispy Kreme parking lot. And he was like, I don't know why you're still trying this. Like, it's just not going to work any longer. You've just had beginner's luck for the first year. And you need to just keep your steady job. Because this is when I was thinking about leaving trucking. And I remember looking at him in the Krispy Kreme and I told him, I said, I'm taking you back to your car. You can go back to Georgia. And I don't care if I ever see you again. Because I just had this negative Nancy in my passenger seat to life. And I told him, later, like a week or two later, when I was speaking to him again, that he either had to get into real estate or really see me later, because I was going straight to the top and he was not going to hold me down. And he agreed. He went to another house buying boot camp with me in like 2 weeks, and then he went to apartment boot camp with me, and then we went under contract in like 7 days and bought our first complex together. So the houses are mine, the apartments are ours, and we are married now. But I still like to give him just a little taste of that every morning for breakfast. Like, you almost stopped me. And he'll hang his head and say, yes, I know, I'm sorry. So if you have that person in your life, whether you're married to them or not, or whether it's your mama or your daddy or your boss or whoever it is, you tell them to sit down and watch.
You got the hold my beer part. Come on.
Because you're... Well,
yeah,
maybe you're listening
I know.
to
Understand that was funny. I'm like, she said, hold my beer. Yeah. Got it. Okay. Yeah, no, and there is a certain amount of believing in yourself and disregarding what other people think, because ultimately they're not the ones paying your bills or living your life. And regret is heavier than one might think, so might as well go for it and try. So I definitely agree with those things that you've said, because you're the one who's ultimately going to be responsible, and kudos to you for telling him where he needed to be. I look forward to watching my daughters do something similar. I'm actually kind of afraid for the guy in this particular case, but they'll work it out. They'll work it out. So that's good. I definitely wanted to say thanks for, being who you are, because I think the world needs more. And thank you for taking the time to share your knowledge, your insight, and your wisdom here with us today at the Cashflow Diary.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks for having me. This has been a little bit of one of my goals for 2017. I have to tell you, I'm fangirling a little bit over here on my side of the mic.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know what time it is. It's time for you to move at the speed of instruction. What does that mean? That means get over to WhitneyNicely.com, because, well, it would be nice, but more important, she's got something that can help you move one step closer to those goals. And at the end of the day, that's the only thing that matters. You're the one living this life. You're the one who has to live with the results. And if you don't like the results of the life that you're currently living, there's only one person who you get to quote unquote blame for it. And that same person you could begin to blame for your success. And you know what step number one is to get started. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been fun talking to you today. I look forward to talking to you soon. Until next time.